Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, welcome to another CryptoManiacs podcast. Glorious day here, Task. I don't know what it's like where you're at, but it hasn't rained here for about 3 weeks. And it's been sunny, so I'm sure there'll be a drought here anytime. So that's exciting. No?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Weather is always exciting. It's Florida. We get hot, humid, and afternoon showers this time of year. So
Love it.
if you don't like the weather in Florida, wait an hour in the summer. It changes by the hour.
And then you'll be sweating for that hour or two. So, yeah.
Yeah, the hour
Nice.
after you start sweating.
Nice.
Absolutely.
Nice and moist. Yes, perfect.
Yep.
How you doing, man? You ready to dive into some questions? Because it is Friday, so it is our question and answer session, and the community did show up. I was worried last night around, there was only about 4 questions, but I sent a note off to listeners, and ta-da! Look at that. We got some engagement because people are reading their emails still at listeners. Yeah,
That's excellent. That's excellent. The Listeners is a wonderful marketing tool tied to the Hive blockchain, even though not directly. I mean, the emails aren't on chain, but it is tied to the Hive blockchain, and it's just one of the tools that is being built that content creators should be utilizing. Did you see Threads? Asidio has said that they are working on having Posh support Threads. So people who send out and share links on Threads at some point will be eligible for Posh rewards, just like they do on Twitter. So we have, again, the supporting of other projects and the joining of other projects, all very important. And not surprising, that's convergence of technologies. And you have people building different things, and then they start incorporating what others have built.
It's a magical time to be on Hive.
Well, it is a bear market, so
yes. So we got nothing better to do. We might as well build, right?
Yeah. Well, looking at your wallet balance is too depressing. So fucking build something. Ignore the wallet balance.
Beautiful. Here we go. Let's dive in. Like I said, people showed up really nicely today. So I said, who is bullish in a bear market? That was the name. I try to be a little creative with the headlines, So pretty good. Let's dive in. Mad Dog Mike says, fair warning, there's a lot of Splinterlands questions, CTP, and listeners' questions.
Should I just go take a nap and then you call me when you're ready?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, perfect. Mad Dog Mike says, with all the tokens Splinterlands has and the different uses for each one, do you think it is complicated for bringing in new people with no crypto background? Yeah, I mean, for me, the most complicated thing for Splinterlands wasn't figuring, like, once you start playing the game and understanding what each token does, the more complicated thing for me was actually playing the game, learning the gameplay. That was the hardest thing. That being said, Splinterlands attracts gamers that are very familiar with card-based strategy games. It's got a cartoony feel to it, so it's not too complicated to get them introduced to this stuff. It's just learning, and it's like anything, any skill or anything you want to get into, it takes time. Where Mike is coming from, though, and I know because he was talking in the CTP Discord this week, it's more about like more tokens. Like Splinterlands has like 3-4 tokens. They got DC, they got SPT, they got SBS. I mean, it's complicated to know where all of these tokens fit. I've learned the game, so for me, I'm much more comfortable in it. But it's like anything in crypto. I think the more you dive into this stuff, the more you'll learn about it and the more you'll understand it. But Task, what do you think, being the Splinterlands?
Well, I think if you take the tokens out of it, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, if there were no tokens, if this was just a non-blockchain server-based game that like umpteen others out there, and you had a card playing game, you'd have to learn all the cards. You have to learn what each number on the cards means, what it applies to. And maybe there's some consistency. I'm not a big enough gamer to know
Right.
across different card games. Okay, they tend to, have power here and this there and stuff like that. But you still got to understand what each the capabilities of each card is and where it applies. And they may use different names and other what's a gold foil legend? I mean, I don't know.
Right.
Do they use that in other games? And, if you don't know what a gold foil legend is, you better learn it because that's applicable to the cards and the playing of the game. And yes, it does have monetary value on the secondary market, but gold foil legend has nothing to do with money. It has to do with the game. So you have to learn that. And the tokens probably do add another layer. But, you mentioned, well, two that apply to the game. SPT doesn't even really apply to the game. Yeah, so you have to learn what two or three tokens mean. Compared to the number of cards and the number of powers on the cards and the numbers on the cards. I think that's a much big greater challenge. But as you said, if somebody's experiencing these card playing games, there's probably similarities that they can draw off of. If you're brand spanking new, then you got a hell of a learning curve. But for some people, it's well worth it.
Yeah, and Sarge is in chat, and he said, just listen to Gank or Cunningham. He means Dwayne Cunningham, and people will be fine. And that's true. That's actually, to be truthful, Dwayne Cunningham, who's Infidel 1258, and then Bulldog 1205, who's been a guest on the show multiple times now. Those two guys, I watched their content like religiously and learned the gameplay. So there's amazing content creators on Splinterlands who won't not only talk about the gameplay, but they'll also talk about how the dynamics of the tokens all work with the game. So to answer your question, Mike, yes, I think it does scare some people away because it is complicated. But the more you get into it and the more you are attracted to the proposition that Splinterlands has, you'll do the research, you'll discover it, and you'll definitely learn from the community.
Well, and then that is the premium versus the run of the mill game. Splinterlands may never have 100 million or 150 million users, but if Splinterlands gets, let's say, 1 million people, not accounts, but people playing it, and because of that learning curve, you could still have a very, very successful. I mean, it becomes a premium game then, because these people are well advanced, they understand it, and they're probably likely to put money into it because they do have that understanding and they realize, I'd much rather compete against 1 million people than 150 million people.
Right. Yep. Good point. Thank you for the question, sir. Dev Press is up. More Splinterlands stuff. I like it. I'm loving this episode of CryptoManiacs because there's a lot of Splinterlands content. What could be a good Splinterlands strategy for SPS in the near future? Like, would you stake everything or any specific percentage you think would be a good option? So this is what I'm doing. Again, just what I'm doing. It's not gospel. I've got a game plan that I want to stake in 2 liquidity pools and then on the game. So I'm taking my SPS and every week I'm staking in the game. It's getting me like 34% right now APR, but I'm also taking the excess SPS that I get after I hit my goal, and then I go and I put it into the liquidity pools, which is getting me around 70%, give or take, on the 2 liquidity pools I'm in. So for me, it's staking. SPS right now, it's 5 cents. It's cheap. There's no point selling it unless you really need the money and stuff. But 5 cents, it's not worth selling to me because I see SPS in the future, not necessarily the near future, but the future of this stuff with everything that they've got. And we're going to talk about Rift Watchers here. So I see iJat's got a question down below. It's amazing. It's what they are planning on doing. Now, planning, it's due diligence. You have to do your research because there's no guarantee here. But what they propose is going on in the roadmap, SPS is going to be massively used, and it's going to be the governance token. They've already set up a first proposal within the game. They got Splinterfest coming up. They got Rift Watchers. They've got all of these things that are coming out. I think SPS at 5 cents is a steal, so I'm just going to accumulate as much as I can. That's what I'm doing. That is definitely not gospel. There you go. Good stuff. Task is like, buy it all. No, yeah.
Sell,
Okay.
sell, sell.
Sell. Yes,
I'm,
sell.
I'm,
Bear
I'm
market. Sell.
thinking of
Sell.
the trading places with the orange juice future. Sell, sell, sell.
Exactly. Yeah, man. Thank you for the question. I hope that helps, Dev Press. The dogs are barking, so I'm going to throw something at them if they start up. Good dogs, just sit there. My Path of Fire says, can you spill any beans about the future plans for CTP? We're going on to CTP now. Why do so many not see the importance of community and use case in the crypto space? I mean, outside of Hive. Okay, so first question, spill the beans for CTP. I actually did a post last week that went over the updated roadmap for CTP. You can check it out on my account at John G. Olson on Hive, on
Should
Peak Deep, and on Real
throw,
Finance.
link it in the room.
Oh, man. Okay, please hold. You caught me off guard, man. 4 days ago. So I'll put it into, it's in YouTube right here. I put it in YouTube and I'll put it in Vim. I'll also put a link up inside of the post later. But that goes over the future plans for CTP, wins, losses, and things that we're excited about in the future. So we got a few things accomplished over the past year and a bit that we wanted this roadmap done. We missed on a few things, but the future plans for CTP, big use case for the token, multiple projects that will be using CTP for the token inside of it. There's also the tipping bot going on. There's tons of stuff on that post. You can check it out. Future plans, everything we're doing is building CTP and listeners going forward. So that's what we're doing. And it's going to be a lot of fun. Not financial advice. Why do so many not see the importance of community and use case in crypto? It's because it's awesome, man. It's let's talk about crypto on traditional social media and never use it. Let's just tell everyone that follows us to buy Bitcoin, because that seems to be the lowest. That seems to be what everyone does. The influencers in the crypto spaces, they seem to just talk about buying Bitcoin. They don't actually use this stuff. They just tell you to go buy Bitcoin.
Oh, you can't use Bitcoin for much.
It's why do not people see the importance of community and use case, dude? It's like, why is water wet, man? I mean, this is just people go to the hype, they go to the shiny object, and right now crypto was the shiny object. So all these influencers will go onto traditional social media and talk about crypto because they know they're going to get more page views, they're going to get more followers, they're going to get more engagement until the next shiny object. Rinse and repeat. It's happened like this for decades and decades. Whatever's the hot thing people talk about, rarely do they use it. They just talk about it. They don't use it. That's my rant. I will not rant anymore. Task, what do you think of that?
The question or your rant? As far as rants go, I give it a 5 on a scale of 10.
Yeah.
We gotta wind you up a little more. That was kind of flat. The answer, I mean, you're right about the influencers. I think it's the fact that people don't understand cooperatives yet. It's still, the focus is on the market. The focus is on token price. The focus is Ethereum going to 10,000 post merge. Yeah. People aren't talking about communities. People aren't talking about, you listen to the CTT guys and what Dan and Starkers talk about, and they talk about immutability, breakaway communities, tokenized communities, tokenized or community-based economies. And I don't think people realize it. And so what I was saying at the beginning of the show, you have Hive, which was built by Larimer as basically a blogging platform, essentially. And then you have Listeners, which was built by CTP. You got Threads, which was built by Leo Finance. Now you have Posh coming in and supporting Threads. Hopefully, some of the other front ends pick up on Threads. So we now have an additional long form blogging. We have microblogging on chain, and it's a viable alternative. And so, Hive, not Leo Finance, not Project Blank, but Hive becomes the competitor to Twitter. And this is all a cooperative, and anything that anybody does positive helps everybody else. So like we had Jimmy on Tuesday, Jimmy's helping listeners, Jimmy's helping Threads, which is helping Leo Finance, which all of this is helping Hive. And I just don't think people grasp that concept because it's such a novel concept compared to the economy that we've operated under our whole lives, which is essentially the dog eat dog, and what can I get, and gather unto me what is mine. All these mindsets that really is not what crypto and Hive and the ability to fork, the ability to create a new token and a new tokenized community. And as soon as we get a lot of this infrastructure in place, people, I think, are going to realize it. But then you're going to get what Dan and Starkers talk about all the time with these founders and how greedy they are and how controlling they are. And all of a sudden, just like what Hive did with Sun, you want to try to come in and take over? We're going to give you the double middle finger, and we're just going to take our ball and create the same damn thing, going in a different direction without you. And I think that I don't think that mindset has been embraced by people. I don't think they realize it.
They will. It's coming. So that's why it's important to get active now and get in here. So, and my Path to Fire joined the chat as we were answering his question. So thank you, sir, for the question. Appreciate you.
Is Blaine here today? Where's Blaine?
I don't think so.
Oh.
No. He might be watching. He's here in spirit.
He's in spirit. Okay.
More Splinterlands questions. You ready? iChat says, here lately, there's been a run on cards in Splinterlands. Several cards are up 50% at the week, starting to prep for Rift Watcher packs. So he's cautiously bullish on everything. I mean, I sold a couple of cards last week that were massively undervalued. I just wanted to sell them. I haven't seen several cards up 50%. Maybe it's some of the common cards or the rarer cards, maybe, but the legendary and epics I haven't seen them go up. But that makes sense. You think that the cards rising would be the commons and the rares because more people use those compared to the legendaries and the epics. So it makes sense. Rift Watchers, this is going to be a use case for SPS. I'm not thrilled at the price point. $5 a pack for Rift Watchers is insane. But you need $5 worth of SPS. And at 5 cents each right now, that is astronomically expensive for a pack on Rift Watchers. Apparently, there's going to be 3 million packs only compared to the 15 million packs of Chaos Legion. They still have a couple of million packs left to go with Chaos Legion, though, so it's interesting. But they're making a big deal about it. It's going to probably be ready for Splinterfest. I don't like the price point. I didn't like the price point of Chaos Legion. And you saw what happened with the markets when DEC started getting closer to peg. Sales of packs came to a halt. Like, it's really, really slow. Compared to what it was like 2 weeks ago when DEC was so cheap. People were buying packs up left, right, and center. So it tells me that people on Splinterlands, they want to buy packs, but the pricing of them is it's really big, and it's higher than I would have liked, but it is what it is. If DEC dips, I'll take advantage and buy some more packs. But it's good for SPS holders. Hopefully that helps with Rift Watchers. It increases the price of Rift Watchers because SPS, because that'll be use case, as well as they're burning the tokens or they're putting it into the DAO. One of the other Bulldog answered me the other day with that question. So I was like, what are they doing with SPS? Is it just going to the Splinterlands company? Like when you use this stuff to buy it, but apparently they're either burning it or they're putting it into the DAO. So there you go. That's my opinion on the price points for these packs. I wish they were cheaper. So, and I think the community does too. I think you saw that with DEC price when it went down. People were buying up packs everywhere. So, anyways, buying packs task. You into the pack buying? No.
No, I have my chaos packs. What do I have? Like 220 of them or something, but don't have any Rift Watchers packs.
They're coming. They're not out yet. So
Yes.
those.
Well, my SPS is staged, so I don't foresee me buying any Rift Watchers packs. But stranger
Yep.
things have happened.
Yep. Cool. Next question. We got Arpren, and this was actually a question that he mentioned for Forex Broker here. More of a business model type of question. Forex Broker is trying to persuade legacy businesses to move over to Web3, aka Hive, on a basis that on Hive, we own our data and content. This Web3 stuff is obviously something many businesses are struggling with. Otherwise, many more would have done it. Something like education type businesses that use email and video, as well as live streams to conduct their subscription businesses, most of which can be here on Hive. What are your thoughts and what is stopping businesses speeding up the process? And Forex responded. I'll read this. If you want to respond to this, I'll the question, and then I'll read what Forex says here and rebuttal it. So,
You go ahead and read what Forex wrote.
Okay, he said, well, I'll add my 2 cents before the lads hopefully add theirs to the pod. So here we are. I think the thing is stopping businesses from shifting their audience to Web3 is that it's just so much easier and profitable in the short term to remain on Facebook. Yeah, bang on. That's exactly what I was going to think. Moving their audience to a censorship-resistant Web3 account such as Hive right now is more of a risk mitigation activity. And if they don't believe there will be a band censored on Web 2, because really who does, it'll happen to someone else, not me, there's no rush. Yeah, so there's a few things. One, I totally agree with them. I think that there's no saying something is decentralized to businesses, they don't care. Businesses really, the last thing they're thinking about is, oh, it's decentralized, this is good for my business. Until it happens to them where they need something that's decentralized and censorship resistance. So it will not happen to me. Speaking from experience, I had a PayPal account for 17, 18 years. I heard for years and years and years, PayPal was shutting this account down. It'll never happen to me. I'm above the water. I'm great. I'm fantastic. They'll never shut me down. What did they do? 17 years after I started using, they shut me down. So it's coming. Businesses will see the need for this, but 2 reasons. One, they don't see it yet. And the second thing is that it's not as easy as setting up something on Facebook. Here's my Facebook page. Go like something. Here's my Twitter account. Go follow me. Here's my TikTok videos. Go watch them. Easy. One button. Little harder with Web3. Little harder with Hive. It's getting better, but we're not there yet. So I think it's a twofold thing. One, they don't see the need yet. And 2, if they do see the need, it's a little harder to onboard than it is to stick a Facebook like button on your website. That would be my opinion.
I think most just are like Elon. Where is Web3? I mean, I don't think they understand it. They don't know it. It's hype right now, and I don't. It's like the metaverse, but the metaverse actually took off a little more than Web3 has. What's taken off? It's just hype because the metaverse isn't even close.
Right.
Web3 is a lot closer, but nobody can find it because we're building it. And yes, we need more infrastructure. It's still not user friendly. It's still complicated. But we can't even get people to come in and use threads. We can't even get people to come in and post their own personal videos of their cat. So how are you going to get a business which, again, businesses are very slow to change. This is what I've referenced when I talk about Podping, and we've talked about with Brian of London. Once you get a podcasting application to use Podping, if it's working for them, they're not going to change for the next 20 years because it works for them. The challenge is to get them to shift over now. And once they do that, then they don't change. But to get them to shift is very difficult unless they know there's a problem. And as you said, most people don't realize there's a problem with Facebook. And if there is, it's usually, well, they changed the algorithm and I went from page 1 to page 20. And so my traffic went from 5,000 a month to 2. And, but they say, well, that's just the way it is. And, they don't understand there's an alternative. And, let's be honest. Hive cannot compete with Facebook. Hive cannot compete with Twitter. Hive cannot compete with YouTube right now because they have the numbers. So what are you going to do? You're going to bring your business over. We were talking when you talk about the crypto influencers. How is a crypto influencer going to get 75,000 followers on Hive? They're not. Now, the profitability for that influencer may be on Hive because they get more in rewards. But your major influencers, they're making a lot more money on YouTube than they would on Hive because they got 1 million or 2 million followers. And businesses are the same thing. I mean, if you're trying to reach and Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or whatever is part of your marketing strategy, how many people are you going to reach on Hive? I mean, that's just the honest truth. So it's the chicken or the egg. And, you're constantly trying to, okay, how do we get more users? Well, we need more users to attract more users. So how do we get more users? So you keep going in this circle, and it's just the answer is one user at a time. And you find people. I don't think businesses are the answer at this time. We need to get that, and this is why Project Blank excites both of us is I think you have to get those people that come over that get the numbers up that all of a sudden you say, hey, there's 100,000 people over here. Then a business say, you know what? I can tap into 100,000 people. It's worth my time to try to do that. But we don't have that right now.
Yep. Yeah. Need more users to get more users. One at a time. It's a good quote, man. It's true. Hope that helps. Thanks for the question, our friend. Appreciate it. Dr. Lobes is up. He's got three multiple questions here. CTP stuff. So we'll go through each of these. Can you highlight the advantages of staking CTP on Listeners versus Hive Engine? So if you're staking it on Hive Engine, you're getting curation from your own efforts. If you're staking it on Listeners, you're getting the rewards for staking it on Listeners. So you'll get some rewards. I forget what Blaine said. It was like 15 to 20% APR if you're staking CTP on Listeners. And that depends on what your curation is like. If you're up voting a lot of people through Hive Engine, which is on the CTP front end and stuff. So the advantages is really, do you want the passive way, which is, Listeners is much more passive. If you're using Listeners, you're getting CTP on top of everything you're getting. Or do you want the more active approach, which is on Hive Engine, where you're automatically, you're manually curating stuff, or you're on, curation trails or something if you like. But it's kind of, the highlight the advantages on Listeners. It's more of a passive way, and you get the bonuses of not only Listeners tokens but CTP. And then with Hive Engine, you're just doing it more manually. So there you go. I do both because I'm crazy. Also about CTPSB and CTPM, holding one could get you some high votes and the other will just get you some extra CTP. Or am I thinking wrong? So CTPSB is a community-run project. That is technically not a CTP project because we don't own it. It's actually run and managed by Achim 03, who's an awesome content creator, does fantastic stuff, but he spearheaded that. And it's called the Swarm Booster because it's designed to boost the swarm. You may or may not get votes from the account, but you do need to use CTP tag and be a member of the community to get it. CTPM is just the mining token for CTP. So CTPM will generate you the lottery mining system that they have on Hive Engine for all the mining tokens, Leo Miner, even Worker Bee for that matter. That's what that does. That gets you the extra, that mines you the CTP token, while CTPSB is a community-based project that rewards creators on CTP. So that's the difference between the two. And then what is the real use case for CTP? Mostly tippings? No, actually the tipping is brand new. CTP use case for tipping is probably a month or two old, 2 months maybe old. CTP was one of the first tokens on Steam Engine at the time. I think we modeled after Leo, and then we were actually the first token that migrated from Steam Engine over to Hive Engine. So CTP has been around since day one of this layer 2 stuff, modeled after Leo. I was picking the brain of Cal for months, setting this thing up. Like, what should I do? How should I? And Cal helped me out. So the tokenomics of CTP is very similar to Leo. We basically copied how he was doing things with the distribution of the token and the number of tokens, etc. So that's what that is. CTP's got the use case. You can use it for buying products and services online through FirePay, through HivePay as well. It's the front end token on CTP Talk. It's the tipping token. It's used on listeners. It's the little token that could. It's the one that flies under the radar. No one talks about it on Hive, but it's been here. And the big thing for us, what we want is we want distribution with this thing. And that's what tipping is doing. It's allowing us to distribute this more. We don't want to be the number one holders of it. We want the community to hold it. And slowly but surely that's happening with CTP. So again, not financial advice, but I'm a little bullish, obviously, on CTP. So that's my pitch for CTP. Yeah, no.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. This is a quite
my project, it's not my project. It's your guys' project, but I'm taking over. I'm waiting for my app to come out. Yes. The task app. That's what you should name it. The task app.
Task app. Yes, task app.
You know, I guess that's not going to happen today. So I'll wait till I'll bug you tomorrow or Tuesday
bug me tomorrow,
or next
definitely.
Friday or wherever. Hopefully, Blaine's off coding it now. Right now,
he's only 2 weeks away, man, from being full time in this. So look out when that happens. It is Dev Time City. He's doing this part time after working like 10-hour days. So thank you for the questions, Dr. Lobes. Hope that helps. Big shout out to his Ferengi avatar that he's using. Love it. Star Trek. Gotta love it. Tokenized Society. You're not a Trekkie, are you? Task. No?
I like the movies. I got a little bit into, what was the second one? The Next Generation with Patrick Stewart. I've watched some of them. I didn't really, the originals, I was never a Trekkie growing up, so I didn't get into the originals. And I didn't get into any of them live, but I've watched a little Next Generation over the years. No, I watched the movies. I enjoyed the movies, which were on the original guys. Actually, I did like the Robert Pine from Chips. His son was Captain Kirk in one or two of the movies. I watched that, but when it came Star Trek versus Star Wars, I was more a Star Wars person. At least the original trio. I didn't get into the next three or the next. I guess there were two other ensuing trios, which actually one trio is timeline ahead of the first originals. But anyway, I like the original Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. So,
absolutely, same with me. I like both though. I'm a Trekkie and a Star Wars fan, so I like them both.
I did enjoy Deep Space, not Deep Space Nine. I never saw that, but the Next Generation was good.
Deep Space Nine had the best story out of all of them. The best storyline was
now here's one
epic storyline.
Did you like Buck Rogers in the 20th?
It was a little before my time, but I did watch it growing up. That was like late 70s, and I was just born then, so I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So little before my time. Me old, but I will tell you the best part of that show, as a boy entering puberty, was Aaron Gray. It was.
Wasn't the little robot?
Tiki. He was fun. Yes. Tiki. Yeah. Well, you were too young, but there used to be polls about Tiki versus R2-D2, which was the more popular midget robot. Just like Arnold of Different Strokes versus
Webster.
Yeah. Which
Emmanuel Stewart, wasn't it?
Emmanuel Lewis. Emmanuel Lewis versus Gary Coleman, the most popular short black kid.
Yeah, funny comedy. Tokenized Society's up. Hey, maniacs. Hi, Tokenized. I would like to know more about the haircut rule. That's a fascinating question that I will revert to this guy because he'll talk about it because I don't even understand that. I know it's meant to protect Hive from events such as the one that killed Luna, but I'm not quite sure exactly how it does that. Could Hive be exploited if we didn't have that feature? And I will mute myself and listen to Task talk tech.
Well, the haircut rule is very simple. You just look at the total market cap of Hive in dollars. And the way it's set right now is take 10% of that. And so and I'll just throw out round numbers to make it easy. If the total market cap of Hive is $100 million, that means 10% is $10 million. So the most that HBD can have as a market cap is $10 million. Now, this does not include what is in the DAO. That the decentralized Hive fund is not counted in that because it's locked up. So now you have the $10 million cap based upon a $100 million market cap of Hive. If that is hit, the Hive blockchain will stop producing Hive. And what that means is if you have 50-50 post payouts, you will still get your HP, 50% HP, but you will get 50% liquid Hive. And that is designed to obviously keep the amount of HBD down when we are at that haircut level and to increase the amount of Hive. The other thing that happens at that time is conversions from Hive to HBD will cease because the blockchain is not allowing it because the haircut level has been exceeded. So if you view this in the framework of an external attack, where somebody goes and buys a shitload of Hive, then wants to come back and convert it to HBD and take advantage of huge price swings and that type of thing, they are going to run into a problem because if their activity pushes the ratio above the 10%, then what happens is the blockchain shuts down the HBD production and their plans are thwarted. We also have in that direction a 5% conversion fee, which also will disincentivize the attack vector somewhat. And that's what a lot of this is designed to do. The old saying is you can't stop everything all the time, but if you can disincentivize the activity and make it to be enough of a pain in the ass, then the low-hanging fruit isn't there, and the attack vectors are probably more of a pain in the ass than people want to deal with. Now, what's going to happen with this next hard fork that we're all waiting on? That pushes the haircut rule to 30%. Because the belief is that at 10%, that's too low, that the blockchain can handle 30%. It can handle the HBD growth, especially since most of your HBD, quite frankly, is locked into the DAO. So that only ekes out very slowly. One of the reasons Block Trades believes this is a good move is because if the haircut level is hit and exceeded, technically there is the potential that your HBD is not backed by $1 worth of Hive if the price of Hive suddenly takes a major hit. So when you have the ability to raise the limit, the haircut limit, that gives a lot more flexibility in terms of the HBD Hive conversion dynamic in both directions. And this is where there's a little bit more flexibility for market dynamics to take over based upon need. I mean, a big thing with HBD is going to be use case. Again, if people have lots of reasons to use HBD, most people aren't going to be sitting there flipping back and forth between HBD and Hive through the conversion mechanism. They may look at the price and say, okay, I'm gonna convert some of my HBD to Hive by going through the internal exchange and effectively buying Hive. That's something completely different. This is the conversion mechanism I'm talking about, which actually alters the supply of each coin. And so really what it is it is exactly that. It is a defense mechanism. It is one of the mechanisms to offset the situation that UST and Luna went through. And not only do we want to focus upon use case and utility for HBD, we also want to focus on utility and use case for Hive. And if you have enough people with enough incentive to hold the tokens, i.e., utility, there's stuff they can do, then again, you get into these situations where most people aren't worried about what's going on. And look at your own currency. Most people who are in Canada, they could give a flying hoot what the Canadian dollar is doing against the US dollar. Most people in the UK could care what the pound is doing against the Canadian dollar. There is a concern about the U.S. dollar because it affects the price of commodities and that type of thing, especially when the dollar's strong. But I mean, does anybody outside of Venezuela care what their currency is doing against the bolivar? No. But you use your Canadian dollar, you use your Mexican peso, you use your U.S. dollar, you use your British pound every day for your purchases and acquisitions. And like John always talks about with utility, I think the biggest case for the algorithmic backed stablecoin is to make Hive as valuable as possible, not price wise, but in terms of utility, where enough people are using it. And there's the SIP, there's staking, there's governance, there's this, there's ROI, there's a bunch of different things, which means that people aren't going to be looking at dumping Hive onto the open market because there's a reason to hold it. There's resource credit needs, there's investment needs, there's all these different types of things. And if we can model that on HBD, then again, you're looking at a situation where the value of Hive in the market should rise because there's a need for it. There's a utility. So those users that we were talking about push up the price of Hive, and the haircut doesn't even become an issue. And if there's enough use cases for HBD, there's a reason to create more HBD, which then, of course, then you get into the time vaults and the time deposit idea, where maybe you start to look at, okay, you lock up your HBD on chain for a year and you get 25% instead of 20%. Those things are possible because both of these are going up in value.
Question from Vim. I mean, Bestar wants to know what would Task know about a haircut? Apparently, a lot.
I cut it every day. I cut it all off.
Yeah, there you go. Deep technical talk with Task. Thank you for the question, Tokenized. Hope that helps. NFT BBG is up. Curious to know, how did ninja mining work in the past? Oh boy.
That was mining started. Block Trades talked about that. Remember that one of the times he was on, where
he
woke up one morning and all of a sudden the mining had commenced, and it was like, what the hell is going on? And
people were getting like $16,000 worth of Steam on one post. And they were just
I'm not even talking that. This is the actual mining where the first from March of 2016 to, I think it was July of 2016, Hive was mined. There was actually a mining process. And the thing was that Steemit Inc. did the mining, and I'm sure Dan did it and Ned did it, and Bernie was able to figure it out and got in on it. But there wasn't a lot of publicity about the mining going on. Block Trades probably got into it, I'm sure. But only those, and they didn't tell anybody, and they certainly didn't lead a lot of people through how to do it. So what ended up happening is you ended up with a lot of Steam mined, but nobody knew about it, and nobody knew how to do it, and nobody knew what was taking place. And then all of a sudden they started to open things up to the public in terms of, hey, we now have proof of brain, we now have this, we now have that. And these people are sitting there voting. The price of the token was probably like $2 or $2 or something. And you have these people voting $1,500 posts because, I mean, just think about how much steam um, that Steam and Ink had from the early days, and most of that was, I mean, it was like 70 million ninja mined or something crazy to that effect. Well, how many tokens were out there? 100 million, 85 million, whatever it was. They had most of it, so you can imagine their upvote value. Um, and so that's what Ninja Mine is, where a bunch of founders go in and they, through a mining process, allocate themselves a lot of stake before anybody else can get in. It's under the radar and nobody knows it's going on, and that's how you get some of these extreme uh, token distributions where you know somebody has 60%, 70%, like Justin Sun, or you know he may have just allocated it to himself, but I mean, you get these founders teams, Ethereum, same way. I mean, you get Vitalik with 20% or whatever he has, Joe Lubin with a huge amount. They got in before anybody else could.
This is something they call me Dan mentioned a couple months ago. It was him and Starkers on a CTT, and they were talking about every single token starts off centralized. It's what you do with it after that makes it decentralized. And you saw that with Bitcoin. You saw that with
well, think of, I mean, if I can jump in here, John, with Bitcoin, while you mention it, there was one miner to start, Satoshi. I mean, so there's nothing more centralized than a proof of work chain with one miner. But obviously, you fast forward 13 years, and there's however many thousands upon thousands upon thousands of mining rigs out there, and how many hundreds of thousands of wallets that have some Bitcoin. So yes, it does spread out. It should spread out over time. Now, you take something like Tron. Is the distribution of Tron spreading out? Probably not.
Yeah, I know nothing about Tron, and I'm not. Yeah, can't help you. And finally, we got Best Start. Hello, guys. My question is, what are Hive account creation tickets, and how do you obtain them? First of all, you obtain them by getting Hive Power. The more Hive Power that you get, the more account tickets you can create. I'm not really sure the number. I think it's like you get one for every 5,000 or something like that. Hive Power or something.
I don't know the ratio.
But
it's actually based on resource credits. It's using
right.
resource credits, and it takes a certain amount of resource credits to get them. And like John said, so if you have effectively the resource credits for 2,500, and if it takes 5,000 resource credit, the equivalent of 5,000 Hive Power in resource credits, you're not going to be able to get any. If you have 10,000 effectively, then you can get two. Of course, it uses up all your resource credits, and you won't be able to post or anything like that, but till it recharges. And that's why applications like Leo Voter, all the Hive Power that we're voting to Leo Voter, not only does it allow for that to curate and generate curation rewards for Leo Voter, which are growing it, and then of course it's increasing the curation abilities. Right. But they also use those resource credits to claim accounts, and that's why they have whatever number of accounts they have, because they figure down the road they're going to need them.
Yeah, it's speaking closer to home here with my situation and CTP situation. My account's got about 100,000 Hive Power. I get about 1 or 2 accounts a day, and it goes down, and my resource credits go down to probably around 70% to 80%, give or take. So what are they, though? They are basically tickets that you can create Hive accounts with. And that's why, like Tass was mentioning about the applications, it's so important for applications to have Hive-powered resource credits, because they need to onboard people. And if they have high stake, they can just constantly onboard, but you'll need millions and millions and millions of this stuff to be able to compensate for an app that has tens of thousands of people, for example. And just like Sarge just mentioned in chat, what's coming in the new hard fork is that resource credit delegation will be able to be a thing, and that will help onboard or apps to basically say, hey, delegate me some of your resource credits so we can just onboard and onboard and onboard. So something like Splinterlands wouldn't have to pay necessarily for the accounts. They could get delegation to the resource credits, and they can just funnel people into Hive nonstop. So, well, not nonstop. They obviously need more resource credits, and hopefully that increases the demand for Hive and power up Hive. So, yeah, there you go. Good stuff. Yeah. So, I'll just get back full screen. So, great questions, man. I enjoy when there's diverse groups of questions, aka lots of Splinterland talk.
You're double dipping because I did share the surprise for you. What happens on Tuesday?
Yes. Should we announce it now?
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah. We got a very special guest coming to us on Tuesday. Neil McSpadden will be back with us. The one of the OGs of the investment side of Splinterlands. Definitely a guy you're going to want to listen to when it comes to the game on a business level, on an investment level. Not always gameplay. Even though he did tell me a couple of cards to buy last time he was on, and they've done really well for me. Not investment, actually playing the game. So he knows it all, but he is definitely a guy that we're going to want to listen to on Tuesday. So there you go. We're good, man. I'm going on borrowed time here because these guys are about to start hammering floors and stuff. So it's good. We got through the questions, and there was the noise wasn't too bad.
That was working around John's renovations.
Working around the renos. Thank you guys for coming, everybody in chat. Sarge, good to see you. Path of Fire, John and Vim. Appreciate you guys coming and hanging out and all the questions from the audience. Stay tuned on Tuesday for Neil McSpadden as well. We'll be back next week on Friday for more questions and answers. Please feel free to ask more Splinterland stuff. I will definitely love to bore task Splinterland. Thank you guys for coming. Have a great weekend.
Ciao.